Welcome to Everquest Poison Making video number 17, Poison Making of the Future. I wanted to demonstrate the power of the vendor, the poison making vendor in the West Trader building, Lauren Thuleth. Right now I have, he's right over here, and we mentioned Scorpion's Agony, a hate poison. And we also mentioned Spider's Bite, you can actually purchase up to the level 40 Scorpion's Agony ingredients for the level 40 poison right directly from the vendor. All the materials are available in, see, ORP, Scorpion's Agony 6, so that's the level 40 poison. So you can purchase all of these materials, the unrefined poison vial, this is the emulsifier and the thick suspension fluid, as well as this grade A Gormar venom directly from the vendor. And this will get, this trivial's at 170, so you can use this to raise your poison making skill if your skill is low. So that's pretty nice. And these are very inexpensive, 0.1 plat, so 1.8 gold, not bad. And with Spider's Bite, same thing. Spider's Bite, there's Spider's Bite 4. Well, there's grade C venom, which you can find here. This is grade C nigroventor venom. This makes the level 30 poison, but you can make up to the level 40 poison. And this will proc. Again, it requires a coarse poison vial, so you have to look that up. The coarse poison vial requires the grade C. The grade A requires a unrefined vial. So yeah, you can start leveling up your skill directly from this vendor without hunting any ingredients at all. So that's pretty powerful. Another thing I wanted to demonstrate is you can buy poisons. I mentioned this in a video before. You can buy poisons directly off of them, poisons you don't even have to manufacture. In this case, Bite of the Shizar 15. You can make Bite of the Shizar 15, and this is made using Mamba venom. I can show that here. Bite of the Shizar. So here's Bite of the Shizar 13. So this requires grade B Mamba venom, which you can purchase. Mamba. Right here. So you can sort by level. You can actually get the purified grade AA Mamba venom, a level 85 DPS poison, which will make Bite of the Shizar 15. So Bite of the Shizar 15, you can purchase the poison directly from the vendor. You can make it yourself using a vendor purchased ingredient. You can actually take, which I'm going to go ahead and do now. You can actually take 5 Bite of the Shizars. So let's just purchase 5, which cost me a whopping 7 plat. And you go to your experiment tab of the coffin vial. So in this case, you need to have the Grandmaster Assassin seal made so you can summon the coffin vial. And just take 5 of these Bite of the Shizars, combine them in the coffin vial, and you have a 5-dose consigned Bite of the Shizar 15. And these are stackable. This is a consigned Bite of the Shizar 14. This is a consigned Bite of the Shizar 15. And you get these consigned chronal infused sealed poison vials. So he can make these poison vials for you, which is really neat. And consigned Bite of the Shizar is nice. It procs direct damage. It also procs an aggro reduction, and this is a DPS poison that procs an aggro reduction, which I believe will stack with the aggro reduction from Quellius Trauma, or an aggro reduction from Seeping Haze, or an aggro reduction from, say, Rage of Incapacitation, these lower level aggro reductions, which will also stack from aggro reductions from a weapons proc. So that's pretty neat. And that's, again, just vendor purchasable stuff. So that's pretty, I think that's pretty cool. Alrighty. Pretty much all of the, when you go to materials, so you see these concentrated chorusine samples, mamba and taipan venoms. Actually, mamba, chorusine, and taipan are actually real-world venoms. They're actually taking these from real-world venoms that are found in the wild, which I think is really neat. I was actually going to do a video on that at some point. But you can, all of these DPS poisons are made, even very, very high level DPS poisons are made just from straight vendor purchasable stuff. And the poison vials, the chronal infused sealed poison vials, are actually fairly inexpensive. So DPS poisons, which you can use to get to max level, and we can show that here, are pretty inexpensive to acquire. So leveling up poison making is not as hard as it used to be. And let's demonstrate it here. I have Anger of the Shizar 15. Not max level, 260, so pretty darn close. So this requires that chronal infused sealed poison vial, purified grade AA taipan venom, interrectal emulsifier, and ethereal suspension fluid. So you got to be careful though, because if you type in ethereal here, we have ethereal suspension and ethereal suspension fluid. There's a difference. All right. When you look up chronal, for example, we have a chronal infused poison vial and a chronal infused sealed poison vial. And look at the difference in price, 35 plat versus 0.5 plat. So big difference. So you can see the chronal infused sealed poison vial is a lot less expensive to purchase, a lot less expensive, and this is making the DPS poison. The chronal infused poison vial makes the utility poison. That's more expensive. But you can see you can level up poison making with just vendor purchasable stuff. This is all vendor purchasable, which is pretty neat. Let's see, what else? Some of these poisons, like Strike of the Shizar, Consigned Bite of the Shizar, and Bite of the Shizar proc direct damage and aggro reduction, but Strike of the Shizar here, this is a single dose. This is made using the chorusine sample. You can look it up here. Chorusine sample, and we can go up to level 85. Purified grade AA chorusine sample. Strike of the Shizra, so not Strike of the Shizar, Strike of the Shizra. This has a single charge, and it does burst DPS. So it's a single use burst DPS. It works a lot like Soul Burn from those Scorpicus venoms that we got back in Kunark days. This is how Strike of the Shizra works, and this is really good to use with Docent of Toxicity or Guide of Toxicity to like give you a boost to your DPS, your burst DPS. So you can start a fight out with this to reduce a mob from say 100% of its health to about 25% of it, to reduce it by 25%, so it can give you a kickstart to your DPS. I was using this in some of the progression quests for Seeds of Destruction, and it does a great deal of burst DPS damage. And one thing you can do is with Docent of Toxicity, you can apply the poison, use it, apply the poison again, use it again. I mean, the only thing that's slowing you down is how quickly you can cast. You can cast, or your channeling time. There's also raid poisons. This is the big part of this video, and we wanted to mention, can't not mention, Valence Tactic and Talon's Tactic poisons. These are the big money poisons, okay? And I'm actually going to try these. Now, the way that Valence Tactic and Talon's Tactic works is when you apply both of these to your knife, okay? Actually, it appears a buff in your buff bar. Kind of like this, but they'll just say 1 in the lower right hand corner, and it'll say 1 hour. So they'll last an hour, or they'll proc a single time. Okay, and the way that it works is Talon's Tactic poison will make the mob susceptible to Valen's Tactic poison, And Valen's tactic poison will make the mob susceptible to Talon's tactic poison. Okay? So the idea is that you have 4 rogues. The initial rogue will cast Talons, make the mob susceptible to Valen's. The second rogue in the rotation will then cast Valen's, making the mob susceptible to the third rogue in the rotation that will use Talons. That will then make the mob susceptible to Valen's again. So 2 rogues are going to be using Valen's, and 2 rogues are going to be using Talons. We can look this up, and I can demonstrate, at least in the forums, how much burst DPS these 2 poisons can do. These require a great deal of skill, and it's pretty expensive proposition to make them. But I'm going to make them, and we're going to test them out, at least with our guild rogues. But the best way to do it is to have 4 guild rogues. Using the benefits of increasing the susceptibility of one poison to the other type of thing, and using teamwork between rogues to get that job done. So let's go ahead and try and make Valen's and Talon's tactic poisons here. I believe I have all the ingredients here. Valen's. There's Valen's tactic. Alright, let's just type tactic, so I have them both pulled up. This is the really cool thing about. So it requires a 503 skill. This is fully modified, so my success rate is around 59%. So it requires 2 purified grade AA delphinium extract, purified grade AA delphinium, and this requires pristine delphinium in order to make this. Okay, and you need 2 of them. Suspension fluid, which is cheap, Inharuk emulsifier, which is cheap, chronal infused sealed poison vial, which is cheap, and purified grade AA mamba venom, which is cheap. These are all vendor purchasable. So the only thing is you need 2 of these purified grade AA delphinium extracts, which requires pristine delphinium. Alright, let's go ahead and try and make one of them. Alright, so I only am able to make 1. I can't make a second one because I need 2 delphinium. So that was cool. I succeeded on a Valen's. So let's try Talons. Alright, so this requires purified grade AA privet, the mamba. Everything's all the same. So you need the mamba venom, the chronal infused sealed poison vial, the suspension fluid, and the Inharuk emulsifier. So I have 3 potential combines of this. Let's try one. Alright. Let's try another. Oh my god, this is the best ever. Okay, I had a good success rate with that. So we need 2 Valen's and 2 Talon's tactics, so we have enough to at least attempt this. If we have 4 rogues at raid tonight, we can at least attempt it. So you'll have to excuse me, I'm kind of losing my voice here. But here I brought up on Everquest Alakazam, Talon's Tactic Poison Strike. This is coming off Talon's Tactic Poison 15. And Valen's is a second tab for Valen's Tactic Poison Strike. This is coming off of Valen's Tactic Poison 15. And you can see that both of these do the same thing. They both decrease hit points by 17,712 points. Okay, this will increase if you're using Docent of Toxicity or Lesson of Toxicity. So it's an AA ability that can increase your poison damage. And also Twisted Shank, which can make the mob more susceptible to poison strikes or poison-based damage. And another key consideration is it decreases hate by 12,072 for both poisons. So both poisons do the exact same thing. Okay, and if you look here, weakens your target, making them susceptible to damage from Talon's tactic. This is Valen's. If you go under Talon's tactic, weakens your target, making them more susceptible to damage from Valen's. So they're basically mirror images of one another. Again, each rogue can only equip 1 at a time, and each
poison strike has only a single charge. So these two poisons really require that rogues work in conjunction. So probably before an encounter, typically a burn fight where we are going to burn down a mob as quickly as possible. What we'll probably do is move the rogues that will be using these poison strikes into a guild group in Discord and discuss and coordinate amongst ourselves who's going to use Valens, who's going to use Talons, who's going to open up with the fight, who's going to be the first to attack, the second to attack, the third, and the fourth. So the coordination of those attacks is very important. So that pretty much finishes it with Valens and Talons tactic. It's really no big mystery. It's just coordinating when your respective rogues attack. It's not unlike a complete heal rotation with clerics, or a rotation where you would have rangers do an Auspice of the Hunter, MGBs, things of that nature. So just getting some kind of mechanic down and understanding that mechanic, and then just doing it over and over again to gain faculty. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so we're back in the Western Trader building. Just wanted to discuss some creating DPS poisons. We discussed Valens and Talons tactic poisons, which deal as a great amount of DPS and have an aggro reduction component. We discussed Bite of the Shizar and Consigned Bite of the Shizar, which have an DPS component. They proc direct damage as well as have an aggro reduction. So does Pyrelian Burn. Anger of the Shizar is another one. I'm actually going to make a Strike of the Shizra here. Strike of the Shizra, you can purchase Chorusine sample directly from Lauren Thuleth. Actually, you need Chronal Infused Sealed Poison Vials. And then you need Chorusine sample. In this case, Purified Grade AA Chorusine sample. Interrupt Emulsifier, and Celestial Suspension Fluid. Again, not to be confused with Celestial Suspension. You need Celestial Suspension Fluid. Okay, and this will make Strike of the Shizra, not Strike. So let's go ahead and look up Strike of the Shizra. Okay, all right, and so here's Strike of the Shizra, level 85. Let's go ahead and make one of these. The cool thing is these stack, and the cool thing is this takes about a 2-second cast time. It's a 10-second recast delay, so that's actually really important, because when you use Lesson of Toxicity or Guide or Docent of Toxicity, they last for 3 minutes. So if you're going to use Strike of the Shizra, let me go ahead and apply this to my buff bar now. So you apply it to your buff bar. If you notice, it has a single charge on it, so it procs just a single time, but it lasts 2 hours. And you see how it stacks here with, in this case, Monk's Bane. Monk's Bane reduces avoidance, and we can bring up avoidance, what that is. There are two aspects of your AC. There's your mitigation and your avoidance, right? So this is the avoidance reduction component that Monk's Bane will reduce the mob stat by. So we were talking about, okay, so this is a DPS poison and this is a utility poison. So let's go ahead and make the rest of these Strike of the Shizras here. And go ahead and combine. They're stacking. Now, Strike of the Shizra is really does a great deal of DPS. So, if you are fighting a level appropriate mob, I was fighting some ogres in the progression, Seeds of Destruction progression, and I was reducing some of their hit points down by up to 25%, in some cases lower, and that amount of threat generation will raise a rogue sufficiently high that the mob will turn around and attack the rogue. And you know, my AC is not bad. It's 1221. I know rogues that have a lot higher than I have. I'm just a chain class, but my AC should be higher. But when the mob turns around and faces you, and you suddenly face tanking what you were backstabbing, that's not a good thing. So, Strike of the Shizra you got to watch your threat with this poison right here, because it does a great deal of DPS. So if you're going to use it, I would use it with Quellius Trauma, something that will will mitigate that increase in threat generation. You can also use it with your old world poisons, Rage of Incapacitation and Seeping Haze. But yeah, so just watch your DPS on that Strike of the Shizra. I'm going to show some example videos moving forward, but this more or less ends the DPS videos. Again, you have Strike, Pyrelian Burn, Consigned Bite of the Shizar, Bite of the Shizar, Anger of the Shizar. The bites you can buy directly off Lauren Thulef. You can make them relatively cheap and easy to make them. And all of the ingredients, again, are purchasable right off Lauren Thulef. So really, there's no reason not to level up poison making. And these days with auto inventory, it's very, very easy to do. Let's see here. I think that pretty much covers DPS poisons. There's probably a couple others. We did mention Spider's Bite. That was the really important tradable one. I think the only other thing to do is to discuss utility poisons and DPS poisons in the field, both in group context and raid context. So that pretty much does this video. I'm sorry my voice is a little trashed. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Wow, there's Mr. Kern. What a jerk. Torturing people. That's not cool. And you know what? He runs away like a bee. Check this out.